Hi, my name is Ian Smith with Prestige Food Trucks, and in this video I'm going to be talking about financing a food truck. So when you are looking into financing a food truck, there are a lot of things that you need to kind of think about, and in this video hopefully I can kind of help you out with that. So first of all, you need to know how much you're going to ask for. You need to have a good budget of how much the truck is going to be, and then how much do you want to add on top of that for working capital. Now you want to make sure that you ask for more on the front end, because you don't want to ask and get pre-approved for a certain amount and then only to find out that you need to go ahead and increase that amount, and sometimes it's kind of a hassle. Sometimes it's really easy, but you kind of want to, as a good gauge, ask for more than you think you will need. Now, do you want to have working capital in that loan? And if you do, then you need to figure out how much working capital you do want to put inside that loan, and are you going to get approved for that? Now you need to figure out if you're going to want to go with a brand new 2016 vehicle, or if you want to go with a pre-owned, maybe 2005, 2007 vehicle. Obviously the price range is going to be very different between the two, so let's say that you wanted to go with a brand new 2016 vehicle. Well, the price range for that is going to be between $130 to $160 roughly for just the vehicle. So if you wanted to have, let's say, $30,000 in working capital, then you want to try and get approved for a loan for about $180. If you wanted to go with a pre-owned, maybe a 2007 vehicle, still a brand new kitchen build out, that price range is usually $80,000 to $120,000. Now if you add working capital on there, you may want to ask for a loan for $150,000. So that's just going to vary, that's going to depend on how much you want to ask for and if you want to have working capital in that amount. Now when you're looking for a loan, there's a lot of factors that's going to go into what your pre-approval amount is. The biggest factor, I would say, is your financial background. So when they're looking at your financial background, the lenders, when they're doing their underwriting, they're looking at your credit score, they're looking at your mortgage and how much equity you have in your mortgage in your house, how much debt you still have on your house, have you ever filed bankruptcy. They're looking at your cosigner if you have one, all that same financial background for your cosigner, and then they're going to look at many other factors, but also your cash on hand. How much cash do you currently have in your bank account to start this business with? So there's many places that you can go when you're looking for a loan. You can go to the bank you currently bank with. I bank with Wells Fargo. Do I want to get a food truck loan with Wells Fargo? Possibly not. I would personally want to go with a lender that does a lot of food truck loans, a lot of commercial vehicle loans, because that's the type of lender that's going to work with me better for interest rates, and they might actually be more comfortable doing this type of loan because this is a very different loan than your standard business loan or your standard house loan, things like that. So you can also look into going with a private lender. That is going to have a much higher interest rate, because if it is private money, they're a little bit more giving with how they give their money, but they want to have a bigger return on their investment, on their loan. So typically, I would say that's kind of a last resort. If you really want to have a loan, that's going to be your last resort, is going with private money. Now, when you go with a custom builder, a food truck manufacturer, typically they're going to have a lender that they do a lot of business with and that they work with, so they may be able to guide you into working with their lender. That may be a good option for you. I know at Prestige we have a very trusted lender that we do a lot of business with. They offer great interest rates, they fast turnaround, great customer service. So I know that we have a great lender that we work with. If you don't go with us and you choose to go with another builder, if you choose to go with another builder, they may have a lender that you can work with through them. If you are thinking about going the other route, whether it's the SBA, the Small Business Association, or the VA, they're going to have their different rates, their different qualifications and things like that. So those are all just different options of where you can go to find this money that you want to use to buy the food truck. So a few things to keep in mind when you're looking at these loans is to really keep in mind food truck loans are very different than mortgages. I mean, it's a vehicle, first of all, so it's going to be moving around. It's very mobile. It can go from California to Florida in a weekend. So lenders look at that and it's a little bit risky for them. It also is a business, so it's kind of a hybrid between a car loan and a business loan. So it's a weird in-between. So keep that in mind if you're thinking, well, I don't know why I can't just get a loan on this. You know, why isn't it easier? Well, it's a weird type of loan, and also the food truck industry is very new still and it's booming, and so keep that in mind that it may be a little bit tricky. Typically, when you're putting your down payment on the loan, typically they're going to want 10% to 30%, maybe even higher than 30%, depending on your financial background, depending on the lender. So try to keep that in mind, that you want to at least have, if you're asking for a loan for $150,000, you want to have 10% at least, at minimum, in cash. When you think about interest rates, a lot of people compare food truck loans to the mortgage because it's the same price. You know, a house is roughly $150,000 to $200,000. Well, the interest rates don't really go across like that. So an interest rate on a food truck may be 7% to all the way up to 20%. Typically, you'll find it 7% to 12%, where you have your mortgages down to the 3 and the 4%. So interest rates are a little bit higher in the food truck industry, so that's also something to keep in mind. Just like any loan, it does take a good amount of time to actually close and get the money and move forward on the purchase of the truck. So really account for that. If you're wanting your truck by this date, you got to account for the manufacturing time to take into place by that date, and then you also have to count into the time to close that loan. Sometimes the loan can be closed within a week. Sometimes it may be closed in 2 months. So some of the factors in how fast it closes depends on the lender, depends on you and getting the information together, going over the terms of the loan. Are you going to have changes on the terms? So, you know, definitely have a block of time set aside for actually closing on the loan and getting that money secured. And then if all else fails and you cannot seem to just secure that money and get that loan closed on, maybe it's your financial background is a little bit weak, maybe it's you know, you had a bankruptcy, or maybe you just don't have the money to put down, then the option is always crowdfunding, or to get an investor to, you know, bring on a partner and maybe go 50-50 with that investor. They front the capital, you do all the sweat equity. So all is not lost. If you can't find a lender to get you approved or for the amount that you're looking for, you can always do the crowdfunding route to actually raise the down payment amount, or you can just get an investor and kind of figure things out. So don't lose all hope if it's difficult to get your loan together. So that is my little video. I hope that this brought value to you on giving you some basic information on financing a food truck. If you want some more information, we have a ton of videos and food truck galleries and sample floor plans on our website. Go to prestigefoodtrucks.com, or you can look through our Facebook page, and we have a ton of videos there. Videos and pictures all over our Facebook page. So also the YouTube. I mean, we're all over the internet. We also have a lot of blogs on our website. Go to Prestige Food Trucks, hit the blog section. A lot of information if you're really wanting to get into this industry and really wanting to learn as much as you can right now. Again, Ian Smith, Prestige Food Trucks, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.